Hello, thank you for having me. I'm assuming that everybody can hear me clearly. Excellent. So we'll get started. I think the topic today, I've done a webinar previously with O'Reilly, which focused more on the tactics of conversion optimization. The goal from today's webinar is to talk about really preparing your website and your business for the process of conversion optimization. One of the things that we've noticed over when we first started doing conversion optimization about 7-8 years ago, it used to be extremely difficult to convince companies of the importance of conversion optimization. However, I think the downturn in the economy back in 2009, and we're still recovering from that, I think that helped really focus the attention of many online marketing professionals, many e-commerce websites, help them really focus on their existing traffic and ways to increase conversion optimization. So everybody is sort of jumping on that bandwagon. However, if you don't come into conversion optimization with the right mindset and with your website and your business prepared completely for what it would take to do a successful conversion optimization project, you will end up getting very frustrated with the process, and you end up losing interest in it and eventually cancel the program altogether. 4 areas that I'm going to be talking about today. The CRO, the conversion rate optimization checklist. We're going to talk about commitment. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about resources. And then we're going to cover analytics setup or setting up really for, in terms of analytics, in terms of doing successful conversion optimization. Let's get started over here and talk about just the commitments and what it takes to really conduct a successful conversion optimization program. And some of the stuff you probably hear continuously about any marketing initiative. However, and it is even more true for conversion optimization. Conversion optimization is a process. Lots of times companies start conversion optimization thinking that, you know what, I'm going to get started, I'm going to try it for a couple of months, and I'm going to see if it's successful or not. I recall one customer that started with us, and after the first month, I think we conducted a test for them, and they achieved a 35% uplift in conversion rates. And the customer calls me up and he says, Khalid, this was great, however, I have to cancel, which was unusual because 35% uplift is great. So I was talking to him. I told him, well, how come, did you change priorities? Because we understand that priorities shift. Businesses have different things that they need to focus on. And he said, no, really, I did not change priorities. Conversion optimization continues to be a top priority for us. However, I was hoping for a 65% uplift from the very first month. And of course, I don't think it's reasonable to expect such huge uplifts. We always say conversion optimization is a process to be followed. It's not a light switch that you turn on and off. Some of the common questions that we always hear is, what kind of uplifts should I expect when I start a conversion optimization program, and how long does it take to really see an increase in conversion rates? And I think these are very valid questions. Now, if we reset the stage back, I always say that there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind before you engage in conversion optimization. At a minimum, you need to give the program 3 to 4 months to at least try it out and see whether it's going to work out for your business and for your website or not. And in order for you to have a successful program for that minimum period of 3 to 4 months, you need to have a couple of things. You need to have full buy-in. It's not enough, and then we've learned this the hard way, it's not enough to have one resource believe in conversion optimization, but stakeholders, those who are responsible for the budget, they really have to have full buy-in and full understanding of conversion optimization. And also you need to have the resources and the budget allocated to conduct a successful optimization program. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you about the expectations and what you should expect when you conduct conversion optimization, one of the things that we do, of course, as a result of conducting conversion optimization program is to run A/B or multivariate testing. So what I wanted to show you is a sample from one customer that started conversion optimization in 2009. So let me show you some of the results that they've gotten. And they've done this on their own, and then they came to talk to us because they were really very frustrated with their results. So the first test that they ran generated a negative 2.72% in their conversion rates. Not exactly what you're hoping for, but I always tell people that there are 3 different types of tests that you run into when you're doing a conversion testing. There are tests that produce an increase in conversion rates. Of course, we all love those, and we want to have more and more of those types of testing. There are tests that generate a negative, like in this case, a negative 2.72%. Okay, so we're not happy with those results. However, they can provide us with marketing insights, because ultimately, when you conduct a test, you are creating hypotheses for what you are testing. And when you see negative results like these, it tells you right away that the hypothesis that you are creating is what we call a negative hypothesis. It means that your visitors reacted negatively, so you need to be able to tweak that hypothesis further and conduct further testing and sort of learn from the mistakes that you've committed. Now, this customer, so they said, okay, you know what, well, we've done one test, let's conduct the second test. And as you see over here, again, they got hit with negative 2.34. Now, they were conducting these tests on their main homepage, so they thought, hey, okay, we'll fix the issues that we're running into. Let's try again to tweak the main homepage, and again, negative 2.34. The last that they've conducted resulted in a 0.68% uplift in conversion rates. So that's the kind of test that I said there's three types of tests. The test that produces an increase in conversion rates, the test that produce a decrease in conversion rates, and then you have these tests that result, it's not conclusive. It's the chance or the confidence level for conducting the test is below 85%. And as you see, we're still, around the 0%. So that tells you that you have made what we call an insignificant hypothesis. Your visitors did not react to the hypothesis or to the test that you've done. So what happens over here, the customer came in screaming, okay, this was really not good results, and that's not what they were looking for when they started the conversion optimization program. Now, they've actually conducted more testing, so let's look at their almost a 16 months program of testing, and let's look at some of the data. That actually, before we get into that, let's ask some questions about some of those negative results, and why are we seeing those negative results? And this is very important to focus on that as well and understand why am I seeing those negative results. So, one of the first questions that we want to ask: did we allow enough time to conduct the testing? Lots of times people ask me, well, how long do I need to run a test for? And what you need to do at a minimum when we conduct conversion optimization testing, we want to run the test for at least a week. Sometimes if the site gets tremendous amount of visitors, we might accept a lot less than a week, well, nothing less than 3 days. But usually the week is a good cutoff time for us as a minimum time to conduct the test. On the other end of the spectrum, some companies, I recall one company that came to us, and they came to us with one test, and they've been running the test for about 4 months. Now, when you run tests for that long, you really risk polluting the data and the results from the test, because there are different factors that impact your testing. There are factors that are internal to you, so your platform, if you're running PPC campaigns. But there are also external factors that you do not have any control over. So, for example, your competitor runs a huge discount. That's going to somehow impact your bottom line. So you need to be mindful of these. So we don't usually like to run tests for at the most 6 weeks. Usually within 4 weeks, we try to conclude our testing. Another question that we want to ask: what methodology was used to select the page that you are conducting the test on? And unfortunately, lots of times people do not focus on this question. They sort of take a very simplistic approach to a very complex and sophisticated question. There's some data that we're going to show towards the end of this, but really you need to spend time on analytics, analyzing your data to understand, well, should I be starting on my main homepage? Should I be looking at the product pages? Should I be looking at the checkout process if you're running an e-commerce website? The other question that you need to ask, so you've picked a particular page, what evaluation process did you use to determine what changes should be made on that particular page? And this is yet another area where people do not, kind of struggle with. Lots of times I was visiting a customer 2 weeks ago, and their approach to conducting design reviews and determining how we come up with new designs for a particular page is to bring 3 different developers, lock them up in a room, and each developer will create 3 to 4 different designs, and that's what they would test. So there was no actual evaluation process to determine, well, why would design A win prior to us even launching that design on the production website, on the live website. So it's more playing a guessing game in the process. The final question is to ask, was the testing process conducted correctly? One of the things that we run into lots of times, people get excited about testing, especially when you produce positive results. So one of the areas that we see is people really go wild with testing. So they're testing the main homepage, and at the same time they're testing the product page, and at the same time they're testing the category pages. And they think to themselves, well, these are separate tests, so they should not impact each other. And we've actually had a kind of a hard lesson that we've learned with one customer where early on we were testing their category pages and their product pages, running 2 separate tests, and we end up declaring a winner in the product page, declaring a winner in the category page. But the designs were really very, very disconnected. And when we actually had the 2 designs launched on the live website, we tracked the conversion and we saw a drop. When we did further analysis, when you're running a category page test, for example, with 4 different variations, you do not know which variation of those the visitor is going to see. And then the visitor jumps to the product page and they might see 8 different variations, and things can cause an issue with visitors. So you want to be mindful of those, not to pollute your data. One of the things that we used to do with our customers about 2 years ago, we used to tell them, well, you can run multiple tests, concurrent tests at the same time. We are very weary of doing that at this point. We'd rather run one test, understand the test fully, do the analysis on the test, as opposed to running 2 tests and have their data pollute each other. Let's go to the next slide. So here are the results from that one customer that had showed you the previous 3 tests. As you see over here, the first test, negative 2.72, then negative 2.34, then they did the third test with 0.68. Now, this company was actually very committed to doing conversion optimization, because in most times, when companies do 3-4 months of negative results, they quit. That company actually continued to do testing on their own for about 6 months. And as you see over here, they really struggled. The 5th and the 6th month, they were close to 0%, so a non-influential hypothesis. And then we started with them. And really, it was sort of a struggle, because sometimes when you look at the results, you're challenged. If somebody creates 6 tests and each test has many variations, well, sometimes it's 1 or 2 variations, you figure at least just statistically and based on probabilities, you'll get one of those tests to succeed. My partner Ayat was overseeing that project, and she was sort of weary of jumping to do conversion optimization for that company, because she figured something would eventually stick. We've continued to do testing with that company. As you see over here, the first test that we've done with them was an 8%, but my goal from this slide is to kind of show you a general progression that we have in conversion optimization. So you have some months where you've delivered a 27% uplift in conversion rates, but that doesn't mean that every month you will produce such results. So you see over here, the 10th month generated a 2% uplift in conversion rate. The 12th, the 13th month, you have 4%, 3%. So you have months that you're doing really well, and you have months that you're producing 2 to 3% uplift in conversion rates. Let's take a look at the graph for that customer. And as you see over here, the first few months that they did, they were below the kind of in the negative area. And then you have the months that you're going up and down. What matters the most for us when we're doing these conversion optimization projects is that we have this trending upwards line, that we are able to see an increase in conversion rates month to month. Now, we'll take a second example, and yet again, I just want to kind of show the data, and I want everybody who's starting conversion optimization to kind of have that mindset to understand what they should expect. When you start conversion optimization, one of the first things that we tell customers, throw away the data from the first 3 to 4 months. Just completely ignore that data. And people find that a little strange. Well, I'm committing resources. I'm doing all this work for conversion optimization. Why do you want me to throw away the data? And sometimes the data is impressive. Look at the results from here. So the first month for this customer generated a 1.22%. It's really not so great. Second month, 10%. Third month, 20%, fourth month a negative 1%. And when you sit with a customer, you say, well, overall it looked decent. We've had a couple of good months. We've had a couple of months where you did not see results. The reality of it, when you're doing conversion optimization, the first 4 months, any good conversion optimization consultant or conversion optimization software, they have to make assumptions about your website. They have to make hypotheses about your website. And really, the first 4 months are used to validate those assumptions. Sometimes the assumptions are correct and you hit bullseye, as you see over here, the second, third month, but it's really too early on to judge the performance of the whole engagement. Sometimes the assumptions are incorrect. As you see, the first month, 1.22%. If you're a humongous website that has millions of visitors, a really good conversion rate, a 1.22% uplift is great. However, if you're a smaller website, a 1% uplift in conversion rates probably does not even cover the cost of doing conversion optimization engagement. Now, what you want to do is you start looking from the 5th month and moving onwards. That's when the company should have really understood the website, understands the website at that point, they understand the visitor, they're able to make more correct, concrete assumptions about your visitors. And you look at over here the trend line. Again, what matters to us tremendously is this trend line that goes up. In this case, we were not challenged with the customer because they hadn't done any conversion optimization previously. So as you see, the average uplift that they've generated over here month to month was 16%, which was really nice results for them over an 11 months period. One of the questions that people ask me as well: how long should I run a conversion optimization program? When do I stop? And the reality of it, similar to SEO, similar to PPC, conversion optimization is yet another facet of your online marketing program, and it's one of those things that you should continue and you should have a full commitment for. The beauty of conversion optimization, you can track the results month to month. There's nothing more beautiful than splitting the traffic between your original page, between new designs, and comparing the number of orders. If you look at SEO, for example, and I take SEO as kind of the other end of the spectrum of online marketing, SEO, you're targeting specific keywords. You don't have full control over it. You're under the mercy of different search engines. You might rank for a specific keyword to discover that the traffic that's coming from it is not targeted. It does not convert. Conversion optimization, I think, gives you the most control over your program. Let's take a look at the kind of the lessons that I want to finish this first section about commitment. Is you need to allow 3 to 4 months at least to start the program. And like I said, the data from those months, sometimes people get really excited, and I tell them, let's think of those 3-4 months as the research month for your optimization program. And this is also very, very important. If you leave the whole webinar with this webcast, with this kind of rule, probably you've learned tremendously and hopefully will help you with your conversion optimization program. Your goal is to generate a 5% uplift on average month to month. 5% uplift on average. If you annualize that, it comes up to 79% annualized because it's cumulative. Really, 79% in a 12-month period is excellent. But at the same time, sometimes when we tell people, well, you should target 65% or 70% or 79%, people think, wow, that's a huge goal. And I tell them, if you break it down actually, and you look at anywhere between 4 to 5% month to month, that's a lot more achievable. You just need to know what you're doing. You need to have a process and a methodology to achieve that. So again, focus on that monthly uplift, those small wins, because those will build up, and those will help us kind of achieve that final goal. Yaz, I don't know if we have any questions before I jump into the next section.
Actually, we do. We do have a couple. We have a question from Steve. Steve asks, are these test-specific ideas, can you not champion/challenge and take the good tests and make that the new normal process?
Well, I mean, definitely you're always like, so if I understand the question correctly, you're always improving, and that's kind of the ultimate goal, and you never stop, correct? You will always try to find a better design, a better business process, a better user flow across your website. You take that, let's say you start with a main homepage design, and you figure out, okay, well, what are the problems within that main homepage design? We use that to create a new design for the main homepage. We test the new design against the original. Now we have a winning combination, a winning design. We come the next month back or 2-3 months later, it depends really on the data, and we might come up and improve that design. It's a very continuous process. One of our oldest customers has been with us since 2009, and I was talking with the CEO, and he told me, "Hey, Khalid, when do we stop?" And I told him, "Well, as long as we're producing increases in conversion rates, that's what matters at the end for us. You judge the success of conversion optimization program of that, looking at it over a 12-month period, 18-month period. Are we generating those improvements from month to month to month?"
Thank you. And one additional question asks, what is the confidence limits you would look for / sample size for the tests?
Excellent question. So it really depends. In terms of the confidence level, it will depend on the testing platform that you use. Google Website Optimizer, we love Google Website Optimizer because it comes with a great price tag of $0, so that makes it a very good platform for many websites. Now, at the same time, Google Website Optimizer has its limitations, and it requires some technical knowledge. It's not a straightforward tool. Google Website Optimizer, for example, uses the term chance to beat original, which is not the same as confidence level. I believe it's more strict. Now, they might be changing that in the near future to go to the term confidence level. Omniture Test and Target also uses their own confidence level. Usually these tools look for anywhere between 98%, 98.5%, and upwards. Some of the tools use 95%. Now, the reality of it, when we do testing, we like to, at a minimum, look for an 85% confidence level. The reason for that, from a scientific, if you're running a scientific experiment, an 85% confidence level gives you really that confidence. Now, what's important is the sample size, because you can run a test for a couple of days or even a week, and if you don't have enough visitors, then you might say, you know what, I have an 85% confidence, I'm good enough to finish the test. And what you need to do, there's a mathematical formula that we use. At a minimum, you need to look at the uplift that you've generated. At a minimum, the original and the challengers each need to record 50 conversions at a minimum. So we're not looking at the number of visitors, but rather the number of conversions. If you think about testing, and if you're testing, for example, for somebody placing an order or not, that's a discrete state of 0 or 1. So we want to look at 50 conversions at a minimum. And then you'll look at the uplift that the challenger have generated. So if the challenger generates an uplift above 25%, then we will take a confidence level of 85% or more. If the uplift is more than 25%, then we'll take a lower confidence level. If the uplift is less than 25%, then we'll have to require a higher confidence level. Ultimately, lots of these tools will declare a winner, but I always recommend that you use any confidence calculator just to make sure that the data makes sense, and don't rely strictly on the tool to declare a winner. Okay, let's move on to the next section, and let's talk about technology. And sometimes people, are surprised by technology, and they wonder why we talk about technology. But it's extremely important to understand the impact of technology, the technology that you use on your ability to conduct conversion optimization programs. Now, why is that? Technology and your technical staff's ability to make changes on your website, regardless of the type of the website, whether you're running a content website, an e-commerce website, really technology can can inhibit you if you don't have that full flexibility to do a successful conversion optimization program. In this case, I'm focusing specifically on e-commerce. However, you can take the same concept and apply it to any type of website, whether you're doing lead gen, whether you're doing a content type website. Any of those websites will kind of fall within those kind of parameters that I mentioned. In terms of e-commerce, the type of technical solution that people are using falls into one of three categories, or a mix thereof. So you either have a custom developed solution, so something that you have whether your own technical team or an external company that have developed an e-commerce solution for you. You might have what we call a hosted solution, so the there is a company that develops the solution. It's actually hosted on their servers. They maintain the original source code. You may or may not have the flexibility to make changes to the website. Or you might have, finally, a packaged solution. So if you're in the e-commerce space, the packaged solutions, there's plenty of them. You just bring them, you install them on your website, and then you're able to make customizations or customize those solutions according to your specific needs. Let's talk about those different solutions and their impact on conversion optimization. In terms of custom developed solutions, conversion optimization is easy to medium difficult in terms of difficulty to implement, and really is going to depend on the quality of the code. I recall one customer of ours that had a custom developed solution, and we wanted to make a small change on their checkout process. I think removing couple fields. So it was even easier. Adding new fields, you have to change the database schema and you have to make some changes. All we asked them, let's just remove those two fields. And their technical lead came back to me and he said, well, this will take us about 35 days. I was initially shocked when he said that, and I said, okay, well, obviously we don't have somebody committed to conversion optimization because I've never heard of something taking 35 days to remove couple fields. And so I told him, well, let's go ahead and have a call and discuss this. And when we had the call, he just walked me. We did a quick go-to meeting, and he walked me through the code that they had. It's been probably about 13 years old code, and it was just probably one of the messiest code I have seen in my whole life. And I told him, okay, I believe you. But in that case, we understand that doing conversion optimization for that type of website where making such a small change will take about 35 days, it's just not feasible. And even if the customer is committed, really the platform is gonna limit you. The hosted solution, so an example of a hosted solution, kind of I gave a couple of quick examples. Yahoo Store is probably one of the most popular hosted solutions. Volusion is another hosted solution. There's plenty of hosted solutions. I think there's over 250 different hosted solutions available in the marketplace. Now, when it comes to these platforms, implementing CRO is medium to difficult, and really is going to depend on the flexibility of the platform and how much it allows you to change. The more strict the platform is, the more difficult it will be to conduct conversion optimization. But this also, kind of putting things into context, this will also depend on the development team and how familiar they are with doing conversion optimization on that specific platform. Just kind of to put things into perspective, Yahoo Store, we used to do lots of conversion optimization on Yahoo Stores, and then we've reached a point where we said, you know what, we're not going to do this any further because we feel that our customers are getting frustrated, that we give them test plans and they're not able to implement the test plans. And then we reached a point where we said, we're not taking any more Yahoo Store customers. However, if you ask me right now, we have a couple of very large customers that are on Yahoo Store platform because they also have very large technical teams that are very familiar with doing any type of change you want on a Yahoo platform. So having that technical team with the technical ability to really make changes to the website simplified our testing process on that specific platform. The final solution is the packaged solution. So in the case of packaged solution, conducting conversion optimization is easy to medium to kind of anywhere between easy to medium in terms of difficulty of implementation. Examples of the packaged solutions, there's Elastic Path, there's Sterling, there's Magento. Magento is very popular among e-commerce websites. Back in 2005, 2006, and the enterprise area, we used to see lots of the customers, especially in the B2B area, for example, go to Sterling or Elastic Path. Nowadays, most of our customers are switching to Magento, whether it's the paid version, the enterprise version, or the community edition. Now, ultimately, when you install one of these packages, you're not going to just purely install a package, buy a package, and just install it on your server and you're done. You are going to customize that package to meet your specific needs. The beauty of these packages, they provide you with the baseline, so you don't have to code a checkout process. It's already coded there for you, but you need to make changes and tweaks to it to really fit your specific needs. And the ability to conduct conversion optimization will depend on the quality of that customization process that the website went through. So here is a quick diagram that shows you the three different packages and how they look compared to each other. As you see over here, the red solution is the hosted, the packaged software being probably the easiest, and the custom developed solution in between those three different options. So. Final thing, and kind of to sum up this section, people tell me, okay, great. So how do I know that conversion optimization would work really well for my specific platform, or it wouldn't? And what we tell people is let's start with a small proof of concept, a POC, to really see how easy would it be to deploy a conversion optimization test on a specific class of pages. What do I mean by a class of pages? If you're running an e-commerce website, well, let's try and do a POC on your product pages. Let's try and do a POC on your category pages, and let's see understand what are the technical limitations, technical challenges that we're gonna face while we're conducting that POC. Also, that POC will help us understand the time and resource commitment it will take to conduct that successful testing. Now, remember, the goal from that POC is really not to see an increase in conversion rates. We are rather testing the technology limits of the platform in this specific case. Okay. Before I move on to the next section, do we have any questions, or should we move forward?
We do have a couple of questions real quick here. Michael asks, what's the top conversion rate you have achieved for a client, and how much of an improvement was it?
Oh, the top conversion rates we have achieved for our clients, I believe, was about, I'm trying to remember a specific number. In all honesty, I don't remember whether it was 22 or 23% uplift in conversion, starting with a 4% conversion rate. So it was just an amazing experience. Now, this happened over many, many months. And one of the things that you want to focus on when you're doing something like that, the first few months, you are going to achieve uplifts in conversion if you know what you are doing. But you hit different spots where you are going to plateau. You might go from 4% to 8% quickly, and then at the 8% or the 10%, you plateau for a little while, for 2-3 months, until now you understand the next stage of, okay, what's going to happen? What do we need to do to increase conversion? What do we need to do to increase conversion rates to that next level? On the same note, we've had one company that called us and they said, hey, we need your help in doing conversion optimization. I said, sure. And when we looked at their data, their repeat visitor conversion rate was 72%. Their new visitor conversion rate was 40%. Really, when we looked at this, I told them, I would not even mess with this. If you're getting a 70% conversion rate on repeat visitors, you're probably in a spot where 99.9% of other e-tailers would really envy you. So I would not touch that yet. Think about the mindset of that company. They're saying, well, although we're converting 70% of new visitors, we're losing 30%. Why is that? I don't think it's reasonable expectation to have 100% of the visitors convert. But I was really impressed by also the culture that company had. That, hey, 70%, we're losing 30%. What can we do to improve that?
Great. And one real quick last question here on this section. Steve would like to know, he wonders what value multivariate testing has over a series of individual tests versus complexity of the project. Now,
when you say a series of different tests, I'm not sure what that means now. There's three different types, correct? You can do an A/B test, so you're splitting. You have a main homepage and you create a new design for the main homepage, and you're just purely testing that. Or you're doing a multivariate test, so you take the main homepage and you test 3 different variations of the image, 5 different headlines, and sort of test all of that. Now, when you say a series, and this is something very important, sometimes if that's what you mean by your question, sometimes what people do is they say, well, we'll create two different designs for the main homepage. We'll run the first one for a week, and then we'll run the second one for another week, and then we compare the data. And when you do something like that, so it's sequential, it's not actually the data coming in at the same time, you run into problems. The beauty of multivariate or A/B testing is you're doing real-time testing. The variations are running against each other. If I'm getting 1,000 visitors today, I'm splitting and I'm testing 2 different variations. I'm at random sending 500 visitors to variation A, and at random sending 500 visitors to variation B. And because you're doing it randomly and you're splitting the traffic, those visitors will be under the same influencing factors. Now, if I do it the other way around, and I run one variation for 1 week, and then I wait for the second variation in the second week, well, things might change. The first week you might rank really well for a specific term, or you might be running a specific campaign, or you might have a competitor that's running a discount. So all of these factors might impact you the first week. You come to the second week, and the same factors may or may not impact you. So you're not getting true measure of how are the variations are really running against each other. That's the reason we like to split the traffic, do it real time, look at the data day by day to say, you know what, we're splitting the traffic, and it's very random, and now let's see how the two pages are performing as opposed to the sequential type of testing. Okay, let's go on to the next stage, and we're going to talk about resources. And in terms of resources, this is very also important to conducting a successful conversion optimization program. There's three stages to doing conversion optimization. The first one is the planning stage, determining what are the underperforming areas of the website, determining what changes are required to those areas. Should I be focused, and I've mentioned this before, should I focus on my product pages versus my checkout, or why not the main homepage? And if I'm going to focus on my cart page, what changes should I be making on that particular page? The next stage is implementing the specific changes on that underperforming area. And then the last stage is the improvement, analyze the results, build on that in your next stage. Now, if we take each one of those stages and understand the resources that are required to do this successfully, the very first stage is we need to understand, like I mentioned, what are the underperforming areas of the website. And in order for us to do that, the inputs, really, the data that we use to determine that is our analytics data, regardless of the analytics package that we use. At a minimum, you should be using Google Google Analytics, and you can pay for the Omniture, the core metrics. There's plenty of packages out there. Sometimes we like to see some customers have two packages actually at the same time running. Now, the caveat to that is you need to understand that packages have different ways of really measuring data, and there will be discrepancy between the two packages, sometimes anywhere between 10% up to maybe 30-40% discrepancy in the number of visits and visitors. It's just the way they define things and the session and the limitations on the sessions and the cookies. So understand that. Sometimes we recommend using two different packages, and they spend months struggling with the fact that the data is inconsistent. And what I tell them is, let's look at the trend line, and that's what matters to us. Is the trend line consistent between these two different packages? If you struggle with that, then just pick one package and stick with it and make sure that it's consistent. Now, in order for you, when you use your analytics to determine what are the areas that are underperforming of the website, the output is an analytics assessment. It's really saying, okay, here's the area that we should be focused on in this next month, quarter, whatever time period you want to focus on. In order for you to do that, you need an analytics analyst to do this successfully. The next stage is determining what are the changes are required on that specific area. Again, you actually look at the analytics assessments. Analytics can also provide you with insights to understand how are visitors interacting with a particular page. Ultimately, the goal from this is to understand the particular page, and let's say we're focusing on the cart page. Well, why should I have buttons on the right side? Why should I not have them on a different side? All these things, analytics can really provide you with insights around that. Ultimately, you want to produce a test plan. Here is the cart page, and here are the different variations I want to test for the cart page. And what you need for that is you need a conversion rate optimization analyst. Now, it doesn't mean really that, well, I need an analytics analyst and I need a conversion optimization analyst and I need this and that. It could be one person who is trained to do all these different things. And also, the beauty of this, similar to many online marketing initiatives, if you have the right resources who is trained, and you can do it definitely in-house as well, you can find the right person, and there's plenty of material out there to really understand conversion optimization, to understand analytics, but you have to invest in it. It's not enough to say, well, I'm doing analytics once a month for half an hour. You need to invest a lot more to produce the results that you are looking for. The second stage is the implementation, and really ultimately is for us say, well, I have a test plan. I want to design this new cart page. And what you need to do is you need to, at least in the first stage, is produce the graphics for that test plan, because you can draw initially the new cart page on a piece of paper, and you have the rationale and the hypothesis of why you want to produce the cart page in that specific way. But ultimately, you want to have a web designer or a graphic designer take that and really make it look like the website, brand it, and make sure that pretty it up really in a way that is presentable to visitors. Then you take those graphics and you actually produce the HTML for them. In order for you to do that, you need to have a web designer. Sometimes you'll tell me, you're making the process really complicated, but the reality of it, if you've done any conversion optimization, you have gone through those steps. And what I wanted, the goal from this is to really understand the complexity behind, well, okay, I have a cart page and I want to test it, to actually conducting that work and what all that is required. Finally, now I have the HTML for all these different cart pages. Now you need to implement the test, and in this case, you need to use your development team to really kind of code the new pages, code the logic behind them, figure out the scripts that are required to be generated, and at this point, you are ready to launch a test, hopefully a successful test. The final stage is to improve. Well, so we've conducted a test and we've had some results from it. What are the marketing insights that we're looking for? What were the hypotheses? Are they correct hypotheses or not? And for that, you look at the test results and you analyze them. You look at each winning variation, each losing variation, and really understand what went well, what didn't go right, and really use that to help you build the next test. And in order for you to do this, you'll need your conversion rate optimization analyst or analytics analyst to look at that data to make a determination. So it's a very cyclical approach where you start with the assessment plan, you create the testing plan, you go into creating the HTML, then you do the implementation, then you generate the analysis of the analytics and understand the results, and sort of you start again. So what is required ultimately from doing all of this? If you think about it, we need an analytics and a CRO analyst. We need the graphics and web designer. We need a development team. And, of course, you'll need project management. This doesn't mean I don't want to make conversion optimization to be very complicated. Well, I have to have resources dedicated to do 50 or 100 hours worth of work. But you need to think about who is going to do each one of those tasks. Do I have the person who's actually dedicated, who's going to do my analysis, whether it's analytics or conversion optimization? Do I have a development team that actually can dedicate maybe 10 to 12 to 15 hours per month? Do I have the project management resources that are required to do successful conversion optimization programs? One of the biggest challenges we've run into when we're conducting conversion optimization programs is initially there's lots of excitement. Let's go, let's do this, we want to increase our conversion rates. But usually this fizzles out if there's no commitment, if there's no optimization culture within the company. So that's the reason we always tell our customers, when I speak at conferences, I tell people, think about the resources that are required to conduct a successful program. Any questions before we move on to the next stage?
We do have a couple that came in, Khalid. Let me take a look here. We have a question that says, how can you tell if you're stuck in a local maxima and a more radical change is needed rather than optimization?
That's a very good question. One of the things that we do, sometimes people come and say, okay, well, I want to change my whole website. I'm sick and tired of this look. And I've had one customer who's been with us for a long time, and he had this rule where every year and a half he needs to completely change the website. He said, the look is getting old, and I wanted something completely new. And what we want to do is not just randomly just change things and just cross our fingers and hope, this new look and feel is going to work better for our visitors. Instead, what we want to do is have a scientific approach to any changes to the website. And I think that's really kind of ultimately the culture of conversion optimization. Even if you want to change everything, even if you're sick and tired of the look and feel of the website, what you want to do is let's start with a little bit of testing. Let's start with hypothesis. Let's look at our main homepage and understand, well, there's a few different titles that we are trying. Let's measure what is making our visitors respond to a particular title, a particular image, a particular color. Let's test all of that. And after we do that testing data, then we can use that. Armed with that knowledge, then we can move into the next stage of saying, okay, well, I need a new design, but however, I have all this data that I've collected about my website visitors, and now I can use that data to create a new design. If your conversion rate is less than 6%, and 6% is a mark for us, because usually websites that do above 6%, sometimes we struggle. It takes us a while to get started with them. If you're below 6%, there's most likely plenty of conversion optimization opportunities on your website. If you're 6, 8% or more than that, then you need a different process that you evaluate the website. And also you want to be careful. Lots of times people jump on creating a new website quickly, thinking, hey, this will work really better. And before you do that, you want to analyze your visitors. There's a certain percentage of visitors, what we call the repeat visitors, that will always come to your website. They're used to your website, even if it's sucky. Let's kind of put it that way. Even if the checkout process is a little broke, they're used to it. This is the way it is, and they wouldn't like the new process, although it's a lot better. Similar, we're talking to some of the design team with Microsoft, and they try and improve the products. And sometimes they introduce a feature, and when they do some usability labs, everything looks great. People are happy with it. But then when they put it on their in the actual marketplace, people are complaining about it because people are just used to the old way of doing things. Eventually, people will get used to the new way, but it might take them a little while to do that.
Thank you. We do have one more question before we continue on here. Michael has a question that says, when testing a page, do you also pay attention to the effect it might have further along the funnel?
So definitely, whenever you're doing any type of testing, usually, let's say we're testing main homepage or product page, usually we're trying to measure first, the ultimate goal is a conversion. Is somebody actually placing an order with the website? Now, you can look at other factors. For example, the impact the different designs had on your, let's say, average order value, the time on website. Let's say how further people go in the funnel. However, you need to be very wary of those metrics. Especially the average order value. Lots of the testing platforms show you for the different variations what's the average order value uplift that you saw for each variation. However, when you're doing testing from just a pure statistical perspective, when you're doing any type of testing is based on a discrete state. Did I have an order or didn't I have an order? Is it a 0 or 1? When you look at average order value, you're really not testing. You're not testing for that, nor is it possible to test for that because an average order value is not a discrete state. That's one of the reasons I believe Google Website Optimizer doesn't even display that data, although they might be moving away from that. So you need to be wary. For example, bounce rates. Well, my bounce rate went up. My bounce rate went down. That is almost meaningless because there is no 0 or 1 state. There's no true or false. So you need to be wary of that analysis. I think you can use it as guidance, but you need to be careful when you're doing that analysis. Excellent. So we'll move on kind of to the next stage, and we're going to talk about the starting point, which is kind of deals with the analytics data. Where should I begin the process of conversion optimization? And one of the challenges with conversion optimization is, well, I always say it's less than obvious starting point. There's a culture that I blame myself and others in the conversion optimization field for creating, because for the longest time we struggled to convince people to do conversion optimization. And I've heard many people telling people, especially back in 2006, 2007, test anywhere, just please start testing. And there was no real methodology determining a starting point. That really causes a problem, because test anywhere, well, what if I start testing my product pages and they're really designed very well, and I spend the next 3 months investing time and resources and I don't see an uplift, and now I'm not even sure should I continue in the program or not. Now, to fix that problem, you want to look at your analytics data. Lots of times when we do analysis with customers, we see them having anywhere between 1 to 3 different funnels, goals set up to track how visitors are navigating around the website. Remember, analytics helps you with a couple of things. In terms of SEO, they track the number of visitors that are coming to the website, where they're coming from, top landing pages, top exit pages. But in terms of conversion optimization, analytics really tells you how visitors are navigating across the website, where they're going, how they're jumping between different pages. So But in order for you to do that, you want to set up anywhere between 20 to 35 different funnels for your website. Those really will start measuring each one of the areas of the website and how visitors are reacting to that. At a minimum, you want to track the navigation of visitors from the home page to the order confirmation, navigation from category to product pages, product to cart page, cart abandonment, and checkout abandonment. And what I like to see is each one of those actually segment as own funnel and really compare to, to help us do the analysis on each one of those goals or funnels for the website. At a minimum, that would at least, when you look at that data and you start to spend some time analyzing it, that would help you tremendously really understand what areas are visitors not able to get to, what areas are they leaking from, and that really would help you at least determine a starting point for your conversion optimization. The other thing goes to the second portion. I always like to show this slide of, so I determined that I'm going to be working on my product pages, but what should I be making? What changes should I be making on the particular product page? Should I be changing the copy? Should I be? Sorry, I went too fast over here. Let me try and go back. Yeah, so should I be changing the copy? Should I be changing the headlines? Should I be changing the images? Maybe I should be changing the product page images. Maybe I should be changing the whole page layout and colors. And what happens, which I alluded to earlier, is people end up just randomly guessing and hoping that their guesses are going to be the original, the control. That's one of the challengers. Maybe different headlines, what's going to help us. Maybe it's the main images. Maybe it's the colors. I hate the blue color. You're guessing, and if you're guessing, you're taking a chance, and it's gambling. And conversion optimization is not gambling. What you want to do is follow a methodology, and over here this is probably a whole webinar by itself, and I think the first webinar that I did with O'Reilly was focused on the conversion rate uplift. But this is the formula, and there's plenty of methodologies out there. This is not the only methodology, but this is the methodology that we use with Invesp. You need to focus on trust, trust being the main factor that impacts your visitors. You need to focus on the FUDs, fears, uncertainties, and doubts, because those reduce the visitors' confidence in your website. You need to focus on incentives. How do I incentivize and encourage visitor to actually convert? You need to focus on engagement. How do I engage visitors and really make them think, oh, this is a nice product, nice website, I want to actually stick around. You want to focus on the business process, the business complexity, the decision complexity. You want to focus on the personas. How does a person who is very spontaneous, how would they respond to a particular offer versus somebody who is logical and methodical? And finally, you want to focus on the complexity of the sale. It's as difficult for us to cover all of that. However, kind of plug in the book that we did with O'Reilly. It covers all these different concepts. What are the different elements that you want to look at in terms when you're doing any analysis for any particular. If you're looking at different trust factors, different fear, uncertainty factors. If we're looking at incentives and what that would entail. I believe, yes, you had mentioned that there's a special offer as well going on from O'Reilly.
Yes, Khalid. For all of our attendees today, folks, Khalid's book is the O'Reilly Deal of the Day. Please visit O'Reilly.com. Look on the right-hand side. You can't miss it. It's right there. It's available to you all for a really great price. So if you like what Khalid said today, you have to get the book. There's so much more information in it. Again, O'Reilly.com. Look on the right-hand side. You can't miss it. Khalid, as we wind down here, we do have another question that did come in. But first, I will let you, if you have a couple more items you'd like to talk to our attendees about, please do.
Sure. So just a couple of other things just to wrap this. We have actually a webinar at Invesp.com to more focused. This was more kind of a strategy webinar. Webcast tomorrow we have a webinar focused on the kind of checkout process optimization, so specific for e-commerce. Linda is considered one of the top bloggers, and she works for Elastic Path, and I think we have over 500 people registered. It should be one of our more popular webinars. Also, I had a special offer coming to the webcast attendees. If you're interested in receiving just an initial assessment for your website and conversion bottlenecks for your website, how does it compare to industry standards, you can send an email to hello@invesp.com. invesp.com, hello, at Invesp, IMVESP.com. The only condition to qualify for that special offer, we have a limit of 10 that we can do this analysis for because we do it free of charge. And the only condition is that you need to have a minimum of 400 conversion points per month. With that, Yaz, I'm gonna turn it to you, see what questions we have.
Great. Thanks, Khalid, for an outstanding webcast. And we'll take our question here. It asks, what are your thoughts on using mini focus groups as a way to come up with new ideas?
You know, we actually do that. It depends on the customer and the budget. I like those, but really you use those ideas to feed your testing program. Especially you need to focus that the focus group, the small groups of users or visitors that you're going to be using are not really trained to do that. And this is one of the challenges that we run into. There's some companies, for example, online that allow you to do, for example, usability testing. However, when we've used them in the past, and I noticed I was sitting through some of the sessions, and I'm like, those people are really used to doing usability testing. Those don't reflect the actual customers of our clients. So these sessions can be very helpful, and you can use it to feed your testing program, get new ideas. But at the end, you want to follow that methodology, that formula that I showed you just a little earlier, because you want to feed that into really your analysis. Well, okay, so they're suggesting that the checkout is a little lengthy, for example. Yes, it is lengthy, but let's analyze it further using our analytics data, and let's really determine whether it's just a feeling or is it something actual that we can deploy on our website. Great,
and we have one final question here. Michael asks, are there any self-service tools you would recommend?
You know, in terms of testing software, there's, like I mentioned, Google Website Optimizer is available. Visual Website Optimizer comes with a small cost. It's not really cost prohibitive. Some of the more expensive tools, I mean, you can spend literally, I think you can spend as much as $25,000 doing testing, but this is just kind of testing tools. And really, I always say testing tools are the easy part. When you're doing conversion optimization, if you saw the different steps that we talked about, doing the actual test and then the implementation, the development team, I know, yeah, it might be resource intensive. However, the analysis is really what makes for a successful program or not. And for that, you know, the book is available. There's plenty of literature available as well, and that's really what you want to think about. One of the things we're thinking about is kind of based on the book is we use our internal tool to do the analysis, and we're debating whether we make some of that available to the public. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. Then you can check that on our website, on our blog.
Khalid, thank you so much for presenting a really terrific webcast today. Looks like we have one final question that just came in. Asks, could you say what this formula means? I don't know if you could see it at all. It's maybe I'll read it to you if it makes sense. CRU equals 3T 2F 1 plus E, something like that. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Let me go back. So it's the conversion rates. The conversion rate uplift equals 3T. It tells you that trust and confidence of the visitor. It has the most impact that's on your visitors. However, trust and confidence is, you know, it goes down by 2F, by the fears and uncertainties and doubts that visitors have. How do you deal with that? You deal with that through incentives, the I, and also you deal with that with E, the engagements. Incentives can help you deal with the fears and uncertainties and doubts, and E through the engagements. All of that is to the power of B, and B tells you the stage of the purchase process. The visitor is coming, and as you see over here, B has a limitation of being between 2 to 0.5. If the visitors are in the early stages, so it's the power of 0.5, which tells you that the visitors who are coming in the purchase process will be more difficult to convert. This is multiplied by B, and is to the power of persona. Personas really kind of magnify the conversion rates uplift based on the type of persona, and the persona is also multiplied by the complexity of the sale. Like I said, we can spend a whole probably series of webcasts taking each one of those and analyzing it and why we put it in this specific way.